Hi, I am Kevin Quigley with Tarot Off the Cuff. Nikki Moore describes herself as a kitchen witch who loves peppermint tea and puns. She lives in a small town in New Zealand with her husband, her dog, and a bunch of chickens. She describes life as a magical act.
What's up, everyone? I'm Nikki Moore, and I am feeling very honored to be participating in this Tarot Off the Cuff video series. We have been asked to take a tarot deck and to pull a card at random and to let that guide us in a teaching or a little bit of insight for you. So I'm using the Spacious Tarot, and there should be a link in the box below as to where you can buy this independently published tarot deck. It's rapidly become one of my favorites. So just make sure they're all in there. See what comes up. So we have the moon. This is such a beautiful version of the moon card. I just have to say that first off. As I was staring into this particular card, I was thinking about how quite often there is a struggle for clarity when it comes to reading tarot, especially for oneself. I've seen this a lot where people say that they really struggle when it comes to reading for themselves, but you know, they find it a lot easier to read for other people. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes people can't read for others and only read for themselves. I recognize that there's diversity there, but I think from my experience in like forums and groups online that I've definitely seen it more often where people are like, oh no, like I just can't read for myself. Like I can't, it's not clear. I don't get a clear reading. Whereas when I read for another person, it's a lot easier for me to develop this objectivity and to see things more clearly for whatever reason. So that's what the moon triggered for me when I looked at it, was this idea about the struggle for trying to get a crystal clear kind of like insight and truth as to the nature of a situation. I think sometimes that a lot of that comes down to the way that we approach the tool of tarot. Like if we really want an answer, then I've found that using tools that essentially reflect you or reflect a situation will often show the struggle that you are currently going through by trying to understand what's going on. I've had this experience multiple times, and I suspect that this is an experience that is true for other people as well, where there's a kind of demand for a resolution or demand for a quick fix in the form of an answer, and cards are something that we reach for when we're trying to understand ourselves or understand the situation more clearly. But we may be approaching the cards with all of that additional nervous energy and stress that may exist because of a lack of not knowing about a situation. So when it comes time to pull the card is reflecting that. Maybe not only you may find the answer that you are consciously looking for within that card. I think that tarot is incredible in that it can be multi-layered in that way. But I also think that that it's quite likely in many instances that the tool is actually reflecting the subconscious back at you rather than the conscious question that you have taken to the cards. Now, perhaps it's easier when you are working with another person to bypass that and to connect more readily with a question, with the client's question, and then to explore that territory without all of that extra stuff that's floating around. In my experience as well, like, it's quite often that someone will ask a question, and because of the way that I work, which is quite a psychological way, that I can answer the question that they would like to know, but a whole lot of other stuff is going to come through with it. This just reminded me of the Clarissa Pinkola Estez's book, Women That Run with the Wolves, and where she is recounting the tale of the skeleton woman, where a woman has been thrown into the ocean, and she goes to the bottom of the ocean and she becomes the skeleton. And then a fisherman goes out and accidentally pulls up this entire skeleton from the bottom of the ocean. So it just reminded me of this, because I think sometimes when we go fishing and we go diving into reality, as it were, looking for an answer, quite often we pull up a whole bunch more than we are necessarily expecting or that we're capable of dealing with. So I think that, like I say, it can, for some people, be easier to negotiate that territory for another person and to kind of midwife that experience for somebody else, because it's not you. You know, you can look at it more objectively. However, when it is you, and perhaps you've got your own shadows, and there's certain territory within your psyche that you haven't come to terms with yet, that may be impacting a situation, it can just be all the more confusing. So the moon is often a card that does speak about confusing psychic territory. I appreciate it's a card of the dreams and the imagination. It's got a connection with the zodiac sign of Pisces. So it's got this highly receptive, highly dreamy, intuitive vibe about it. And it's got this connection with all of those various things. However, like I say, you know, we're often going to the tool of tarot looking for clear instruction or clear insight for our situation, a solution for our situation. Whereas the moon is a kind of reminder that says, you know, things aren't always rational. The way the situation is manifesting or the solution to a situation isn't always going to be a rational solution. The number of times where I have been reading for another person or reading for myself, and the answer has kind of come from some place, you know, it's kind of like emerged out of some kind of cloud, and then suddenly I'm able to just kind of like cling onto it. And how I got from somewhere over here, you know, reading over here some symbol, and then suddenly the missing piece just kind of like appears out of some place, and yet makes perfect sense for the person that I'm reading for, or is highly accurate. I mean, how is that's not a rational process whatsoever. That's a strange, nebulous, dreamy, intuitive process that is very hard for people who are conditioned by materialist science and the cultures that probably the people that are watching this video, you probably have been raised in a highly materialistic society, and perhaps even use tarot in a way that is very kind of, you've got a very rational way of using the tool, and it makes sense to you because it's synchronicity or it's whatever it happens to be. You've got it sorted out. There's a logic behind it. There's a rational reason why tarot works for you. However, I would just like to argue that there are some things that that are mysterious, like where certain answers come from, or how our psyches figure things out. Like if you're a person who dreams prolifically, I'm a person that dreams quite often. I'm going through a period of my life where I'm dreaming like every night, and a lot of those dreams are highly symbolic. There are ways of rationalizing why that is a thing, and how it could be meaningful, or why how it could be useful. Some kind of I don't know, Darwinian kind of evolutionary way of explaining why that's even a thing. Why, it kind of doesn't really matter. It's more recognizing that reality is just a little bit fucking weird sometimes. So yeah, kind of going back to what I was saying about why, you know, people struggle with seeking clarity, or expecting or demanding kind of clear insights and clear answers from themselves. Well, I think that there's a lesson there about needing to be like more patient with those insights as they arise. So I guess, like, leading on from that, I would just like to encourage anybody who struggles with reading for themselves, but finds that they are able to be more objective with other people, to continue to do it, continue to read for yourself, and to keep a record, a bit like keeping a dream diary. I know that from my experience with being a dreamer and keeping a dream diary, that and also keeping track of readings that I've done for myself over the years, there have been dreams that I've had that made zero sense when I had them, but I wrote them down for whatever reason. And when I looked at it a year later, 2 years later, I was like, holy shit, like that was so, perfectly symbolic of the situation that I was going in. But I was so clouded. My judgment and the way that I've seen things was so clouded and so conditioned and biased within my own waking consciousness, that I was really struggling to connect the dots with what was going on there. And a similar thing happens with like reading as well. There's been readings I've done for myself that I'm like, I don't really understand that, or I think it means something, and it's not that. I'm like, it's wrong. The way that I'm reading it for myself is wrong. However, through letting things have their time to for me to process them on deeper subconscious levels, eventually it bears fruit. So the process of this video and me talking about stuff is in a very kind of dreamy way as well. So I hope that it's been useful for you, and that you've taken something out of it. I'd love to know what your thoughts are about the moon card and how you relate to it in your own practice. Thank you so much for watching.
Hey, this is Kevin.
Hi, this is Nooch.
Thanks for watching.
If you like what you saw, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe. You'll know when new ones are coming. And share with your friends.
We'll see you soon.